CCTV cameras never stop rolling, which is why they capture things no one was ever meant to see. From chilling apparitions appearing in front yards to terrifying encounters with spirits, these clips reveal horrifying moments that will keep you up at night. Dallas residents are used to strange things now and then, but one man's security camera picked up something that looked straight out of a nightmare. A pale figure with no legs dragged itself across the pavement, only it wasn't dragging, it was gliding. Its head and arms moved fast, like it was on a mission. He showed the footage to his neighbor, hoping for an answer, but no one could explain what that thing was. And now, every night, the street feels just a little less safe to walk down. Roadside shadows. Early one morning in Romania, a roadside security camera captured a sight that still unsettles locals. Several tall, ghostly figures, almost human in shape, moved quickly across the road in broad daylight. Their speed and size made them look less like travelers and more like beings returning to a place they belonged. After that, villagers began checking the cameras daily, hoping for another glimpse. But those figures never appeared again, leaving only questions behind. Crawling figure. Late one night, an empty street was caught on infrared cameras. No cars, no people, just silence. But then, something strange crawled across the road. It was on all fours, moving slowly, in a way that didn't look human at all. The unnatural movement left people unsettled. Some believe it was just a prank or performance, while others think it looked more like a creature out of a nightmare. Whatever the truth, that eerie crawl was enough to make anyone lock their doors a little sooner that night. Shifting presence. In a relatively discreet Mexican village just 15 miles northeast of Izamal, a farm's CCTV recorded something no one was prepared to see. A ghostly shape drifted near the gate, crossed into the property, and then slowly shifted into a human-like figure. It didn't stop there. It calmly walked straight into the house. The owner only discovered it later when checking the footage by chance. Since then, he says the air around the farm feels different, like something unseen is always nearby. After watching that clip, it's hard to believe peace would ever come easy again. Strange watcher. CCTV is meant to keep us safe, but sometimes it shows things we're not ready to see. A man in Dallas checked his cameras one night and spotted something bizarre lurking outside. Hidden behind a dustbin was a creature that looked nothing like a person, yet it wasn't exactly an animal either. Its face looked unsettling, and the way it crouched made it seem like it had crept in silently and was watching the house. After that sighting, checking the footage probably became less about safety and more about survival. Night shadow. CCTV in a quiet Mexican town picked up something no one on the street would have noticed. A dark shadow drifted across the road, moving calmly in the night, then vanishing just as quickly. Nothing triggered it. It was just a shape sliding through the dark. The unsettling part is, without that camera, no one would have known it was there. Makes you wonder how many of these shadows slip past unseen every night. The devilish nun. During Halloween week in Austin, Texas, back in 2023, a local witnessed something disturbing. A nun dressed entirely in black walked slowly down the street, but her face was completely blank. At first, curiosity kept him watching, but the longer he stared, the more uneasy he became, until he rushed inside. Moments later, he realized she hadn't left. The nun stood outside his door for several minutes, before vanishing without a trace. Some believe it was a cruel prank, but many who've seen the footage are convinced this was no ordinary encounter. Shifting figure. In Peru, a factory owner shared footage from outside his unfinished building that left viewers baffled. At first, it looked like nothing more than a faint blur moving in the distance. But slowly, the shape began forming into something unsettlingly human. Those who saw it couldn't agree on what it was. Some claimed it was a wandering spirit, while others believed it was something far stranger, maybe not even human at all. Backyard watcher. Late one evening in Peru, a man checking his backyard cameras froze at what he saw, an eerie figure peeking out from behind a wall, almost as if it was watching him. Its shape was unnatural, its presence fleeting. The figure never showed up again, but from that night on, he made sure his cameras never stopped recording. Vanished man. A strange security clip surfaced showing a man acting completely out of control, his voice twisted into several tones at once. Echoing like something unnatural was inside him. People argued whether it was real possession or just a breakdown, but one detail still unsettles everyone. Not long after the video spread online, locals claimed the man disappeared. His house stood empty, abandoned overnight, no trace of him left behind, as if he had simply slipped out of this world. Cursed woods. Local legends warned about a stretch of trail deep in the woods. They said once you stepped on it, you never came back. Most avoided it, except for one boy who didn't believe a word of it. He walked straight onto the path, laughing at the old stories, until the camera caught something terrifying. A dark, blurry figure rushed him out of nowhere, knocking him flat. He managed to scramble away and survive. But since then, no one has dared step onto that trail again, like the curse proved itself real. Morning shadow. Just after sunrise, a homeowner's Ring camera picked up something strange moving across his yard. It looked human at first, but its body blurred like smoke while its feet stayed solid on the ground. The people in the background appeared perfectly normal, yet this figure didn't. Some dismissed it as a glitch, but the shadow it cast across the pavement made that harder to believe. If it wasn't really there, then why did the world around it react as if it was? Restless night. A quiet night in Indonesia took a strange turn when a man's dog wouldn't stop barking at nothing. Checking his CCTV, he spotted a faint, ghostly figure gliding down the street. Wanting answers, he stepped outside, only to see the same figure heading back the way it came. Since then, it's never been seen again, leaving only the memory of that one night when something unexplained passed through. Roadside apparition. A man was riding his motorcycle home late at night when the road ahead turned chilling. Standing in the middle was a ghostly woman dressed in white. Before he could react, she disappeared right in front of his eyes. Thinking he imagined it, he slowed down to check, only for the same figure to suddenly appear again, this time directly in front of him. Fear took over. He abandoned his bike on the spot and sprinted into the night, leaving everything behind. The Yard Intruder. Emily from Kentucky shared late-night footage from her Ring camera that unsettled everyone who watched it. A child in a white dress wandered inside her gated yard, calmly walking as though she belonged there. The problem? Emily doesn't have kids, and the yard is fully closed off. Online viewers argued over what they were seeing. Some thought it was something evil. Others were almost adamant this was supernatural. But no matter the theory, the one detail nobody could explain was how the figure got in, or why it vanished without a trace. Vanishing anomaly.
We're just testing it. See, if you were alive, you might say you were and
then just disappeared.
One night, a doorbell camera picked up something strange moving past a house. At first glance, it looked like a regular person until it suddenly faded into thin air. The homeowner replayed the clip over and over, but the figure stayed the same, walking across the frame. It was a presence that appeared for seconds and vanished without a trace. Ghostly follower. In a small town in Mexico, two friends were out for a late-night walk, and everything seemed peaceful until one of the CCTV captured something they never noticed. Just a few steps behind them was a pale figure moving quietly in the dark. Its size and movement resembled that of a child, yet it didn't behave like one. These friends kept on walking, unaware they weren't truly alone. This footage was allegedly released by a former security guard who was fired by the building owner because a ghost near the area would make people want to leave and others won't buy apartments there. And it's hard to ignore the unsettling thought that something was following them the entire time. Unknown stalking tenant. It started with something small. A woman came home, unlocked her door, and behind her, the attic cover shifted, opening and then shutting on its own. She brushed it off until more tenants began whispering about strange happenings. Security finally checked, and what they found was unsettling. The attic showed clear signs of life. Holes for watching, and belongings stashed inside. Someone had been living above them, hidden the whole time. That single quiet movement on camera was the only clue, until the truth came out. Mysterious black ooze. In an ATM booth in China, the floor suddenly began to leak. A thick, black liquid seeped straight out from the middle of the tiles, spreading like oil across the ground. The man inside didn't even flinch. He carried on as if it wasn't there. Another customer walked in minutes later, equally unfazed by the mess. Whether it was a prank, a leak, or something stranger, the footage leaves behind one eerie detail. Nobody seemed to care. Driverless car mystery. At a toll plaza in Mexico, a car pulled up as usual, but when the worker approached to collect payment, the seat was empty. No driver in sight. Even more disturbing, the vehicle moved forward on its own, with indicators flashing as though someone invisible was behind the wheel. The worker stepped closer to investigate, but that's when he noticed a dark, shadowy figure seated in the back. Terrified, he backed away immediately. To this day, no one has been able to explain how that car moved on its own, or what exactly was inside it. Ghostly thief. In India, one man's bike seemed to have a mind of its own. Parked outside his home with the stand locked, it suddenly rolled forward and toppled over, all caught on camera. Nobody was nearby, and no trick explained it. Some laughed, others felt unsettled, but the question lingers. What unseen force gave that bike a push? Poolside flicker. A couple was relaxing by the pool when something in the sky caught their attention. The husband looked up, then back down, only to realize his wife had disappeared beside him. Stunned, he searched everywhere, even in the pool, but she was gone. Most people might miss the detail, but right as she vanished, faint light flickers rippled in the frame. Were those tiny sparks proof she was still there, but invisible, or a sign of something else at play? In the end, it's those flickers, not her disappearance, that make the clip so unsettling. Haunted Colorado school. Abandoned schools often come with ghost stories, but one in Colorado provided actual evidence. Security cameras late at night captured a ghostly figure in white drifting through a hallway. It glides effortlessly, even moving through doors and walls, before vanishing into a classroom. The footage was so unsettling that locals now believe it's the spirit of a former student who allegedly might have lost her life there, but I could not find any reports to support that claim. Ghostly visitor. In Indonesia, a man scrolling through his CCTV caught something chilling. A pale figure drifted into his yard, moving slow, almost searching. At first, the shape was hard to make out, but soon it looked like a woman, faint, ghostly, and standing where no one should be. He couldn't stop replaying the clip, each time hoping he'd see something different. But the thought that unsettled him most was simple. If she came in once, what's stopping her from coming back? Hallway creeper. Colorado's hotel hallway turned into something straight out of a nightmare. A man was heading back to his room when a shadowy figure suddenly appeared. It shoved him and dragged him down the corridor like it had no plans of stopping. Somehow, he managed to break free, but the entire encounter was caught on CCTV. Without that footage, no one would have believed him. The hotel ended up closing that hallway, and honestly, who could blame them? Park possession. At first, it seemed like just another casual evening in the park. Two boys were walking together, laughing and chatting, when something strange started to unfold. The boy on the left looked uneasy, almost as if he could sense something wasn't right. Then, without warning, a dark shadow shot across the ground and lunged straight toward the other boy. The figure didn't just pass by, it seemed to collide with him, almost sinking into his body. For a brief moment, it looked like the boy's movements changed, as if something had taken hold of him. Witnesses on the other sides of the camera described it as if the shadow was searching for a host, and unfortunately, it found one. The unsettling footage quickly spread online, leaving many convinced that what they saw was a real case of possession caught on camera. Strange yard clip. A video uploaded on Reddit showed a string of bizarre events outside someone's home. First, glowing orbs hovered near the yard. Then, several pale, human-like figures drifted past the house. Before long, a few of them even jumped the fence and walked straight into the property. The whole thing looked unreal, like a scene from a distorted dream. What exactly was caught that night? No one has ever been able to explain it. Fence runner. It was just another quiet night in Texas until a backyard camera picked up something that didn't belong. A small, dark figure darted across the fence line, moving in a way no person should. The family dog erupted into frantic barking, reacting to something the human eye could barely follow. Some say it was a spirit. Others claim it was something stranger, like a forest creature slipping through unseen. Whatever it was, it came fast and left even faster. Since then, the backyard has been calm, but the family never forgot the night something uninvited passed through. Shadow companion. Late-night patrols are usually boring, but this one turned out different. A security guard was checking around a factory for some missing items. Nothing unusual at first glance, until the CCTV replay revealed something chilling. A faint figure slipped right past him, tiny, almost transparent, and definitely not human. It moved with an ease that suggested it belonged there, as if it had always been around, unseen, watching. If that's true, how many times do we walk right past things that aren't supposed to be there? Ghost riding bike. Late one night, a security camera picked up a sight that left everyone stunned. A motorcycle racing down the road with no rider. There wasn't anyone chasing it, which would have been the case if a rider lost control. But nope, just the bike gliding forward as if guided by an invisible hand. Drivers who witnessed it pulled over in shock, swearing the way it swerved looked intentional. Since then, locals say that stretch of road feels cursed, and most avoid it once the sun goes down. Ghostly gathering. An old factory in Indonesia had been empty for years, but the security footage suggested otherwise. One by one, shadow-like figures slipped through the entrance. Tall, short, some smaller than others, like a family returning home. They weren't doing much, to be honest. They didn't linger, they just went inside, as if the place still belonged to them. Watching it back, you can't shake the thought. Maybe some families never really leave. Nightly conversation.
Untuk apa kamu sudah meninggal?
The son thought it was odd how his father always seemed awake at night, so he set up a camera to see what was going on. What he found was chilling. His father, who was barely able to move because of illness, suddenly sat up and started talking to nobody. His words seemed directed at something unseen, and his body moved more freely than it had in years.
Untuk apa kamu sudah meninggal?
No explanation has ever surfaced for who or what he was speaking to. The camera only left behind a haunting question. Maybe the father wasn't alone after all. Unseen forces. Hoping to uncover the truth about his haunted home, a man tried a strange ritual in his kitchen. He burned paper and muttered spells, not realizing the room was about to turn against him. Each moment grew heavier, yet he stayed, frozen, until the final crash sent him running. The house has quieted since, but the memory lingers like a warning. Sometimes the answers you're searching for might not want to be found. Shadow crossing. Drivers thought it was just another ordinary night on the road, but a nearby CCTV camera told a different story. The footage shows a dark, human-shaped shadow strolling right across the street, completely unnoticed by anyone passing by. Without that camera, no one would have ever known it was there. The thought that something like this could slip by unseen makes you wonder what else might be moving around us, just out of sight. Phantom Rider. Locals in Peru still talk about a night when a security camera caught something chilling. A horse rode past, carrying what looked like a ghostly rider. Many believe it was Juan, a cowboy from the 1800s who, according to legend, never left these lands. The strange figure fades into the dark, vanishing as if it was never real. Watching it, you can't help but think, maybe some legends aren't just stories after all. Broken home. This mysterious clip is really shocking. When a resident of Vietnam entered their home, they saw the tiles had broken apart, and checking the CCTV didn't help either. To this day, he has no explanation for how his home was torn apart by something unseen. Guardian Angel. This clip feels like proof that not all mysterious figures are here to harm. A man was strolling along the street when a stranger tapped him on the shoulder. He turned around, just as a metal rod shot out from a passing truck, striking the very spot his head had been. Shaken but safe, he looked for the man who had saved him, but there was no one there. The stranger had vanished without a trace, as if he only appeared for that single moment. Invisible customer. One late shift at a shop, an employee greeted a customer who had just walked in. She even offered help, speaking to them as if everything was normal. But when security footage was reviewed, it showed a different story. The door had opened on its own, and no one had entered. Another worker remembered asking her who she was talking to, and she pointed right toward the visitor. But there was nothing there. The figure she spoke to had simply vanished. Classroom shadow. A school security guard was on his usual night shift when he heard noises coming from an empty classroom. He checked inside, but the room was silent and empty, so he moved on. Minutes later, the sounds returned, louder this time. He reviewed the CCTV cameras, and what he saw froze him in place. The footage showed a child walking around the classroom at the exact moment he was inside. Yet when he looked earlier, the room had been completely empty. The school later sealed off that classroom, and it's never been used again. Mysterious deceased worker. Factories are usually noisy, busy places, but in one local factory in India, silence turned into fear. Exactly 1 year after a worker lost her life there, the cameras caught something impossible, her figure floating slowly through the very spot she had last been seen. She wasn't alive, but she wasn't gone either. Since that day, workers claim to feel watched, and no one dares to stay behind after hours. Maybe she has unfinished business, or maybe the factory will always belong to her now. Dragged away. Hospitals are supposed to be places of healing, but this patient's experience was anything but. While asleep, he was suddenly pulled across the bed by something invisible, as if an unseen force had gripped him tight. He fought until he broke free, just as a staff member rushed in. Later, CCTV footage revealed what happened, leaving viewers unsettled. Some brushed it off as sleep paralysis, but the way his body moved, it felt far too real. Almost like whatever took hold of him wasn't ready to let go. Creepy hospital moment. Hospital night shifts are unlike any other shifts, but even then, the cameras end up catching more than they should. While scanning the monitors, a guard noticed a soft glow near the bed of an elderly woman. As he zoomed in, the glow stretched into what looked like a hand, gently reaching toward her. By the time he rushed in, the room was empty of any strange light, the woman simply resting in peace. Yet days later, her sudden recovery left doctors baffled. No one could explain it, except maybe the cameras, which caught a presence that seemed to leave healing behind. Ghost breaks glass. Inside her home, a woman was tidying up while her dog ran toward her. Out of nowhere, the glass top of a nearby table suddenly exploded. The dog hadn't even reached it yet, and no one else was around. The CCTV replay only made it worse. Nothing touched the table before it broke apart. No explanation, no reason, just the glass shattering on its own. That turned a normal day into a mystery no one could solve. Church door figure. At a small church, staff had grown uneasy after weeks of the back door opening on its own. Finally, they checked the CCTV, and what showed up made their stomachs drop. As the door swung open, a cloudy figure seemed to drift through, only half visible, as if slipping in and out of this world. The staff now keep that door locked tight, but one thing still haunts them. The footage never showed where the figure went after leaving. Today's subscriber's pick of the day was caught in Minnesota. A home security camera captured something that still has people scratching their heads. Late at night, an odd figure appeared on the sidewalk, moving low to the ground on all fours. Its body twisted in strange, jerky motions, almost animal-like. But something about the shape didn't match any creature you'd expect to see in a neighborhood. For a few seconds, it crawled slowly, its limbs bending in ways that looked unnatural. But then, in the blink of an eye, the thing pushed itself upright. Suddenly, it wasn't crawling anymore. It was standing tall, walking like a human, as if nothing unusual had just happened. The eerie transformation was so smooth, it almost felt staged. But the raw footage said otherwise. When the clip made its way online, there were a bunch of theories. Some swore it was a skinwalker caught on camera. Others thought it resembled the legendary creature known as the Rake. A few skeptics insisted it was nothing more than clever editing. But if it was fake, who would go through the trouble of crawling through the dark like that, risking being seen, just to pull off a prank? And that still doesn't explain the unnatural, creepy movements and distorted limbs.